Car stocks are facts or opinions, and opinions are facts. I bet you motorsports as we know it today wouldn't even exist if this was the car that started it all. Did I get your attention? I sure hope so. Let's talk about this. Yes, I don't think personally that motorsports as we know it, racing, aftermarket industry, just how it currently is, how massive it is, would exist in its current form if electric vehicles came first. Because the really funny thing is, everyone says how archaic and old internal combustion engines are, but in actuality, electric cars predate internal combustion engine cars. The technology was actually founded before internal combustion engines. It's an older technology. It's just not as refined. That's the difference. It's now starting to become more refined technology, but it's actually older. And if you don't believe me, this is what we got. When was the first electric car produced? The first electric car, they were actually being developed. People were tinkering around with the ideas in the 1830s. That's how long ago. They weren't great, but that's how long ago people were messing with electric cars. And it wasn't until 1884 did the first production electric car exist. And then it was followed by the first real fully electric car in 1888. When was the first gasoline-powered car, internal combustion engine car, made? The first gasoline-powered vehicle was the Benz patent motor wagon. 1886. People were messing with electric cars 30, 40 years before anyone even thought to put a gas engine into some type of vehicle. And furthermore, when was the first gas engine ever developed? The first commercially successful internal combustion engine, the Otto engine, was designed in 1876. When was the first electric motor developed? The first electric motor in a very rudimentary form was developed in 1821. However, what would apply to the use of an automotive application, some radial electric motor, that didn't come around until 1834, which is how people were messing with electric cars in the early 1800s, 1830s, because that's when the radial or rotating electric motor was first produced, way before an internal combustion engine. That's crazy, because everyone argues, oh, well, internal combustion engines just archaic, old technology. No, it's not. It's just more refined technology. It's more modern than electric cars. That's the crazy part. And it really makes you wonder if electric cars predated internal combustion engine cars. How would that have affected motorsports as we know it? If you ask me, if electric cars took off mainstream and internal combustion engine cars never really, took off, I don't think motorsports would actually exist. Maybe it would in some capacity, but I don't think it would. I don't think we would have what we have today if it wasn't for the internal combustion engine. And just it goes to show, how big of an industry motorsports is. And it's just growing and growing every year globally, not just in America, globally. The size of the global motorsports market was valued at almost $6 billion US equivalent in 2024. And it's expected to go over six, almost 6.5 by 2025. It goes up every year. And it's not stopping. Motorsports is huge. And I don't think it would ever have been this big if it wasn't for, internal combustion engines. You have EV specific racing now, but it's so hardly no one's interested. I think that would have been the same reaction if it first started that way. I think they would have started it. It would have never took off. and it would have been squashed, or it would have just lingered around as this little niche thing that probably wealthy people do. I mean, motorsports is a wealthy people thing, but you get what I'm saying. It would have never been mainstream like it is now. It would have never have made its way into all these little different sectors of racing. I mean, we got racing and everything. I mean, car racing, boat racing, plane racing, lawnmower racing, everything. And they're all using internal combustion engines. And it's nuts. I don't think we would have this if it was, electric cars first that really took off. And even more interesting, when was the first actual race? Like, when did people actually start getting in cars and like, hey, I'm going to see if mine's faster than yours from this distance to that distance? Well, that happened in 1894. That was the Paris to Rouen race, which apparently wasn't that much of a race. It was more or less a endurance event. They just wanted to see how good their vehicles were built if they could make the journey, which was about an 80-mile difference. They only traveled about 12 miles per hour. They were not really going fast, but at the time they were just testing the durability of these vehicles, gasoline, internal combustion engine vehicles, very early on. And this is not long after the auto cycle engine was developed. So they went working real quick with gas engine. They saw the potential, and not long after the gas engine hit a car, you started having races. And then not long after this, about 30 years later, you had one of the most prestigious, even up till this day, one of the most prestigious race events ever created by man. 24-hour Le Mans. It's a crazy endurance race. It takes basically what that first endurance race was and takes it. I mean, it don't even crank it to 11. It cranks it to 21. I mean, it is out of control what they were able to do. It was not only a race of endurance, it was a race of speed, a strength. It was nuts. It happened very first. Le Mans happened May 26th, 27th in 1923. All powered by gasoline burning behemoths driven by men with balls of steel, all racing, all trying to win the race. And it just exploded ever since. And then you have the American racing history with bootleggers and, souping up their cars to outrun the cops, and that forming NASCAR. And I don't think these things would exist if we didn't have combustion engines. See, I don't think people would really be tinkering with electric cars. See, the reason why people tinkered with engines is because there was always having to be improvements to be made as it was developing, as we were learning about it. There was always these improvements that needed to be made to make more power, to make them faster. And that's what propelled the motorsports industry, was the ever-evolving understanding of the engine and understanding how to extract all this power and make all of it work. And I just can't see how we would be here today if it wasn't for the internal combustion engine. I don't think motorsports would exist. If it did, it would be in such a limited capacity. It would be as popular today as Dungeons and Dragons. You got a lot of people who play, but comparatively to everyone else, they're a small little group that just keeps to themselves because no one else is interested. And that's kind of like where we are. And it just goes back to, when people bring up all the time cars like the Tesla, and yes, performance in certain aspects, acceleration's impressive. They can handle pretty good the way they're designed, but not great. They're still super heavy cars. The fact that EVs have developed and come along as long as the way they have in the last 10 years is incredible. And they are impressive, but even to this day, you cannot get enough people interested to own one, no matter how fast they are, because we all know fast ain't everything. And that's a lot of what people don't understand is internal combustion engines. It's a soul. There is something to it. it's not just the performance, it's the sound, it's the feeling. It's this weird chemical reaction going on inside of this beautifully articulated and crafted mechanical machine, just working, and you know, it's little explosions going off, making your butt move forward. There's something special about that. If it wasn't for that aspect, we probably never would have fell in love with cars like we do, and we would have never have developed racing like we have. If EVs were the first to really take off, we would basically, it would just be an appliance. And that's how we would feel about it. It's just an appliance. But because we have such a passionate and emotional history with internal combustion engine cars, it's become more than an appliance to many of us. And I couldn't see a future without it. To me, it's crazy when people say the things they do about EVs, albeit they have their place. They're still being developed, and the technology is actually starting to trickle down. Good EV technology is making its way into really nice hybridized systems, so we can extract the best of both worlds. And I think that's where a lot of this is going to kind of end up. And most people are going to embrace that in the future, not only in motorsports, but just in everyday life, where, you know, high-end hybrid systems are going to be, you know, what's now considered high-end hybrid systems reserved for super elite, expensive, super hypercars will eventually be technology you will find in your everyday grocery getter. And I think that will be the actual future, at least for the next 30, 40 years, whatever anyone says, because it's the only real sustainable way. Or there's hydrogen. Hydrogen hybrids probably have the best possibility, but that technology is still, we're not, that's a whole nother video that we're not talking about. But with that said, I think it is going to wrap it up here for this video. Let me know what you think. Put your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think motorsports as we know it today would be dead if it wasn't for the internal combustion engine powered vehicle? Let me know. Otherwise, going to wrap it up here for the video. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, share with everyone you know. If you want to see more content like this and you haven't already, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. Keep a lookout for next Cars Talks video.